Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. This is going to be, I believe, an extremely important video. Perhaps one of the most, if not the most important I've ever made, at least for the time being. We're going to ask the question, is the Earth splitting into two? Is there going to be a 3D lower Earth and a 5D higher Earth? And then the ultimate question is, how can we shift ourselves to the higher 5D Earth? I'll talk about perhaps a temporary wormhole between these two Earths. Maybe we can find out together if this is a worthwhile theory or not. This is something that I'm thinking. And maybe it will help us explain what the solar wave ascension event is that we are currently experiencing. Hello, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Welcome to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need your help. I need you to subscribe to the channel. I need you to like. I need you to comment. I also need you to take these videos and take the links and put them up in your Facebook, in your Twitter, in your Instagram. Put them in social media so that people can find their way to this channel. And most importantly, that people can hear this message. I believe this message, I'm not the first one to say it by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not the only person currently saying it, but I believe that this message is about to explode exponentially. We'll find out. I have no ego attachment to it one way or the other, but that's the feeling that I'm starting to get. The other feeling I'm starting to get is that everything is about to pick up speed. Everything that's been happening is about to pick up speed very fast. So we need to talk about this. All right, so one Earth splitting into two. Now, as you know, this is all brand new to me. Maybe many of you watching this, or if you're finding my channel for the first time, you've been hearing about this, have been exploring these concepts of the event, the ascension event, the solar flash, all of that stuff, for perhaps decades. Dolores Cannon's been talking about this kind of stuff for a long time. She has since moved on to another dimension, but this is all new to me. So one thing that you can appreciate about this channel is nothing I say here is done because I think this is what people want to hear. I am not creating a channel, nor have I ever created a channel with the intention of finding out what is popular so I can get a big channel. It's never been what I do. I have always taught what I have experienced and what I personally know from experience or from my own common sense. I almost never repeat what other people say without having first tested it or meditated on it. And I certainly don't tell you something as fact unless I myself have experienced it. So what I'm going to talk to you about today comes from that. As it turns out, this is one of those I was wrong situations. I'm going to have to tell you things that other people have been telling you for years, although I never take anybody, like lump sum. I will, because most people, including Dolores Cannon, most people conflate. They take what they've intuited, what they know to be true, and they combine it with other things that may or may not be true, and they present them as one thing. So Dolores Cannon is one of those people. And I could get into a couple of things. Now, when people first started telling me, go watch Dolores Cannon videos, I did. And of course, this was way back when, more than a year ago, I just wrote it all off as nonsense after having had personal experience after doing CE5. Go look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. CE, the number 5. When I did personally reached out and made contact with higher dimensional beings, I then started becoming aware of a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff turns out to be true from my own personal experience. And some of the stuff goes far beyond what, I've heard from these kinds of people. But Dolores Cannon made a couple of conflations which I decided that she was 100% wrong, because, look, this is a safe way of doing things. If, this comes from my religious background when I was a Christian, because Christians want you to believe that the Bible is the literal, completely 100% true historical truth that comes directly from God. And so when they put themselves in that corner, all you have to do is find one thing that's false about it. If somebody says this is the whole truth, the entire truth, and it's either this or nothing, and you find one thing wrong with them, then it's like, well, then it's nothing. Because according to you, this whole thing has to be true or it's completely false. So since I've found multiple things wrong with this, the whole thing is garbage. So I'm going to throw the whole thing away. So I tend to do that with self-styled experts. When I can find something wrong with them, that is the safe thing to do. Put it in a pile of, I don't know if this is true or not. It's probably false. I'm going to leave it alone. So Dolores Cannon was one of those people because she talks a lot about alien abductions and conflates alien abductions with actual extraterrestrials. She does talk about extraterrestrials, in my experience, that aligns with my experience of ETs. And then sometimes she will talk about abductions. And other people who do her style of hypnosis will have people give those same stories. And so I tend to throw it all away. There was a couple other things she said which was clearly she didn't know what she was talking about. But that's okay. Nobody has to know everything. And in her defense, she's really just repeating what she's heard people say supposedly under hypnosis. So, without getting into it, it's a big deal because alien abductions do happen, but they are not performed by extraterrestrials. They are done by humans. And I could launch into that, but if I do, I might get myself into trouble. So we'll stop there. Having said that, I have continually heard since my interactions with ETs who have told me, before I even knew such a thing existed, they told me about what people called the solar flash. Although they didn't call it a solar flash, they called it a series of solar waves of love. Solar waves of love that continuously hit the earth over and over and over again until the earth gets filled with enough of this energy that it jumps up to the next level. The ETs never called this 5D. They've never called it 5D to me. What they have said is that there will be an event that the entire world will see. It will be in the sky, and everybody will think it is God. And then they will very quickly understand that it is something else. And at that point, all religion, mainstream religion, will disappear. I don't know if that will happen instantly or over time, but people will realize their religion is not accurate, that it's something more than that. It's different than that. But people will embrace it. And the world will change. That's what they showed me. I then asked them, and I said, so this thing in the sky that everybody's going to see, is that going to be a fleet of spaceships? And they said, no. It's going to be a series of solar waves that will send high vibrational radiation to the earth of love. Solar waves of love that will be sent to the earth over and over until the earth shifts up. So that's what I've been teaching you guys. This is why I'm really into this. A bunch of other things have happened, which we won't need to talk about in this video. But I've made some notes so I can stay on topic here. So just a few days ago, I was doing my interdimensional meditation, which I just did before I came here, which is I have an answer for you, because I didn't have one before I just did my most recent meditation today. But I was in meditation. I do daily interdimensional meditations. Even if I don't have a question, I do it just to check in, because I want to know if there's something that I need to know. And I do it also to help me work through this shift, because I'm struggling with this solar wave shift. I'm as human as the next person. So I'm having all the same ascension symptoms that everybody else is talking about. So I check in for my own well-being as well as to get information, even if I'm not trying to figure something out. So I did that the other day, and there are some high-level beings that I've come in contact with. One of the things that happens when I do my interdimensional meditation is I go to, I'm just going to tell you who it is. One of the beings that has come to me is Thoth. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the messenger of the gods. And for a while, I just called him my secretary, because he would show up and tell me who wanted to talk to me, or who had a report, or who, those kinds of things. And I asked him his name, and he said Thoth. And I asked him that because one day I saw him, and he looked like one of those birds. I forget what they call it, an ibis. He looked like an ibis. And I said, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm Thoth." And that really blew my mind, because here is the messenger of the gods coming to me as like my secretary, telling me who's, making appointments for me and setting, up these interdimensional meditations. And so what happens a lot of times is I'll go into meditation and I'll do my thing, which I probably don't have to do, but I do it so that I feel like I'm accomplishing something, which is I tap into the energy in my heart, I leave my body, I go out of Earth's atmosphere. And then when I feel myself out of Earth's 3D space-time, I then will call Thoth. And he shows up every time like like the Roadrunner. He just like that every time. I think he does that to so that I won't take myself so seriously. But every time he's like the Roadrunner. And he shows up like that. And I will say, ask, who wants to talk to me? Do I have any appointments? And he'll say, yes, come with me. I want to take you to meet somebody. I want to show you something. And one day he took me to this dimension, must have been an extremely high dimension. And we just kept going and going, through these weird, when you go through all these different wormholes, it feels like, like you're on a roller coaster. It feels really intense in the body. And then you sort of pop up somewhere and you're in this world. So I was in this world of light, and there were two beings there. And they said, we are the mother and the father. And they said, we are the gods that the gods worship. What was interesting about them is that the mother, the feminine, was all white light. The masculine was dark, was a darkness. Now, why that's significant is because that's the exact opposite of what yin and yang, yin being feminine, yang being masculine. It's the exact opposite of what we have in 3D. Masculine is always white light. For instance, the sun, the rays of the sun are masculine. The center of the sun is feminine. The rays of the moon are masculine. The rays of the moon are feminine. Center of the moon is masculine. The yin-yang symbol, the big white thing is masculine, the big black thing is feminine. But at the center of each is the opposite color. And so what I found interesting from that is that the masculine was dark and the feminine was white. Why is that important? Because I am slowly coming to the realization that our third dimensional reality is a mirror image. reflection. It's not the way things are. This is also represented in Norse myth, by the way. The name of the deity is escaping me. The deity that created all of the gods, his feet mated with each other. And he is also reversed, because for him, the right side is feminine and the left side is masculine. So it tells me that, and he again is the creator of the gods. So maybe that's just another example of the same essence I was interacting with, the gods that the gods worship. In any case, I've been interacting with these beings for a while, and so a couple days ago I went to them, specifically went to them because I was having a tough day. I was having ascension symptoms. I was feeling anxious. I was afraid. I was full of doubt, self-deprecation. I was just not in a good place. So I went to them for help. And they said something that bothered me. I didn't like it. And this came from the masculine. And he said, "We sent you to the third dimension so that you could figure out for us why three-dimensional beings are so afraid." And I had later on this experience that it wasn't just in this lifetime, but that all of my lifetimes on Earth, and I've had some awarenesses of a few of them, and some of them have been really messed up, which has created a lot of negative karma. I've done a lot of bad things in some past lives. I've done out of really messed up places. I can even remember, I think, my first life that started all of it. I was a Neanderthal. And if I put it all together, what that being was saying was, all of those lives, we sent you down so you could have all of those thousands of lives and go through all of that challenging, difficult karma so that you could figure out for us this one question, which is, why are 3D beings so frightened? And that bothered me. I didn't like that at all. I was upset with them, at least for a day, because I felt like, are you kidding me? You sent me here to this hellhole to go through all of that just so you could figure out, you're the gods that the gods worship. Why can't you figure that? Why am I having to go through all this hell just so you can figure out that one question? And then, today, I now know why. I now know why, because I have never seen anybody give the answer I'm going to give you. I've given this answer before. I have yet to hear somebody say this. People talk truthfully about the understanding that you have two polar opposites in this reality. You have love and fear. But human beings who are codependent don't know what love is. And so a large number of people who say you're either in love or in fear, they conflate love with what is actually fear, codependence. They think love is sacrificing yourself for other people's approval. And that's not what love is. That is codependence. It is self-hatred. So the answer, the reason why human beings are so fearful, the reason why three-dimensional beings are so fearful, is because they are deathly afraid of receiving unconditional love. Now, you've heard you're afraid of giving love, but you conflate love, maybe you do. Many humans conflate love with codependence. And that's why everybody, I'm love and light, I don't have any of those negative feelings, and all I do is I'm just full of love, man. Hey, don't bogart that joint. You conflate love with codependence. But love starts with being able to completely receive unconditional love. And in order to receive unconditional love, you must completely drop all of your agendas. You must completely drop all of your control. You must completely drop all of your self-protection mechanisms. It goes directly against all of your self-protection programming that human beings and animals have in the third dimension. The first thing you learn is to protect yourself from harm. But in order to receive unconditional love, you must have no boundaries to it. That goes against everything we have to do here in this reality as well. When you accept unconditional love, it will be so intense that you will feel as though you are dying. And in fact, you are. In the third, your third dimensional understanding must go through a death. This is why Odin, by the way, who came long before Jesus, sacrificed himself on the tree of life. Jesus was a bad copy of that. Odin sacrificed himself to himself. He died to his own 3D self. And as a result of that, the secrets of the universe, called the runes, revealed themselves to him. And that wasn't even the end of it. He then had to reach out and take them. And it says, screaming, he reached out for them. Screaming, he picked them up, meaning that it was painful, it was frightening. This is accepting unconditional love. So now I have the answer. The reason isn't that it's not between fear and love. It is receiving unconditional love or blocking it. And when you block unconditional love, you will immediately go into fear. You will immediately go into self-deprecation. You will hate yourself. And our reality is designed to create a narcissistic, self-absorbed fear that you experience as hostility, you experience it as victim mentality. You know, the most angry people are victims. Victim mentality comes from, I'm just going to say it, your victim mentality comes from your unwillingness to take the risk of being unconditionally loved. And it happens because you live in a world that other people have that same experience. And so they have children and they don't know how to give unconditional love to their children because they don't know how to receive unconditional love. You can't give love if you don't know how to receive it. You want to be a loving person, you must first learn how to receive it unconditionally. This is the fearless part. You're either in fear or love. To be in love is to be fearless. And you cannot love until you first receive it. If you can't receive love, you will never be able to give it. So you've been damaged by your poor human parents who went through the same thing you did. And the first thing you learned how to do is not trust. Not open yourself up and allow yourself to be loved. That's the first thing you learned as a little kid. And when you block yourself off from love, you block yourself off from love from the gods that the gods worship. They're like, why won't these humans accept our love? And so you spend the rest of your life full of fear, full of anger. You might either be a sociopathic person who abuses and harms others, and you knowingly go and do that to harm others because that's the only way you can connect with people. You're so twisted. Or on the other end, you are so codependent that you are incapable of standing up for yourself. You're incapable of creating boundaries that keep these narcissistic people out. And you think in order to be a good person, you must let people harm you. That's why in the Middle Ages, people thought they had to carry their cross for God. They had to carry their burden. That's why Jesus is lauded as this Savior, because he allowed himself to be psychopathically murdered by his narcissistic father, who was actually trying to punish you. Became the ultimate codependent. And people have twisted that around and turned that into, that's enlightenment, taking punishment. So, why is the earth splitting into two earths? So today I asked that question because I don't like that. I don't like it because I can't tolerate the thought of people being left behind. I can't tolerate it. Maybe that's my codependence. Probably is. I can't tolerate the thought of anybody not being given the ability to rise up and experience the bliss of 5D. So today I went into meditation and I called Thoth to me. And I sat in my throne and I took on an authoritative air and I said, bring to me someone who can explain to me why the earth is splitting. Before I get into that, let me back up a little bit. So somebody asked a question, maybe it was day before yesterday, and asked about, I didn't understand them, unfortunately, because of the miscommunication that happens on these live streams. But they were trying to ask me, during the ascension, is the earth going to split into two? I misunderstood the question and got involved, and I ended up sort of answering where I was, which is I can't tolerate the thought of, that, again, that Christian-like thing of the rapture, where people who aren't part of our club aren't going to go to heaven. You're going to have to stay here during the rapture, the tribulation, and live through hell because you were a bad person who didn't believe in Jesus. I can't tolerate that thought. And I can't tolerate the thought of people not being given the opportunity. So this is why I've resisted it, because it goes against my instinct, which is that this 5D shift is for everybody. And I still say this, everybody has a seat here. Every single person who wants to can shift to 5D as it's happening. That I still believe. But the idea of there being two earths also bothers me. In any case, somebody mentioned this. I was talking to one of my apprentices just yesterday, and she was talking about that. This has been her message that she's been getting in her interdimensional meditations. And so, I listened to it, and if I'm being honest, I cannot deny that, especially recently, the messages have become more and more insistent that something big is coming. And I keep getting asked the question, are you ready to let go and move to the higher dimension? And I find myself afraid. I find myself feeling frightened at that question. I find myself sad at letting go of I don't know what. But I'm smart enough to know, when a teacher asks that question, because I ask my students that, are you prepared to do whatever? What I want to hear from them is not their resistance. I want to hear their willingness to take action. So I said yes. And I say yes every time. Yes, I am willing to go. I surrender to this process. I choose to go. I say that every time. Even though a big part of me wants to say no. Or a big part of me wants to ask questions. Or, complain or whatever. So this has been coming to me more and more recently. So when I listened to her explain this, there was a part of me saying, you got to listen to this. And I won't get into everything that she and I discussed, but I held on to that. And one of the things that she said, I have to give her credit for this. Thundra, if you're watching, this is you, of course. She said that it was like that each time we get one of these waves, solar waves hits, it's like a piano going up higher up the scale. It vibrates a little bit higher. And I thought about that, and I put that in the file of, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's true or not. And here's what happened last night. Last night, my ET friends came to me twice. And what happened is they showed up, and in my mind, I heard a piano going up the scale. And it was very clear. And it was in that state where I wasn't asleep and I wasn't awake. I was awake enough to know that, okay, somebody's giving me a message. And I almost never hear, external sounds inside my brain. That almost never happens when they communicate with me. But it was very clear. It was clear as day. It was the sound of somebody playing a piano and going up the scales. Now, that happened once, and I said, oh, that's interesting. That's some evidence that maybe that's right. And then, went back to sleep a couple hours later, in between, waking up, and again, exact same sound. It's clear as day. And I said, okay, when they tell me something twice, it means that they are letting me know that I'm not making it up. That's how it works. Because when you have interdimensional meditation with these beings, if you ever do it, one of the first things that happens is your brain tries to gaslight you out of it, and rightly so, because it could be your own narcissistic projection. But whenever I have that, my brain will go, I wonder if I made that up. So when they do the same thing twice, which is something that I am not, that I don't have a connection to, or something that I like, if it's something that's outside of that, and they do it twice and they make it really clear, they do something to let me know that this is coming from somewhere else, then I know they're trying to tell me something. I'm wincing because there's other things they've said which I'm not going to talk about. Just confirming to me I was right about certain things, but we'll leave that for another time. So I had to wake up. So, after I finished my sleeping and I woke up, I went, okay, so I got that message. So she's probably right. There's two Earths. The Earth is splitting into two. And just like Dolores Cannon talked about, there's going to be a lower. This is the other thing I don't like. So it's not just that it's like 3D is going to stay here and 5D is going to come here. It's that we have the 3D Earth now, and it's going to split into two. One will go further down, one will go further up. I don't like that. That means that the people who choose to stay in the lower dimension are going to end up choosing an even harsher, worse 3D reality than we have. But if you look at what's happening on the planet, that's exactly where we are. By the way, we are in the Yuga called Dwapara Yuga. People will want to tell you that you're in Kali Yuga, but that's not true. Kali Yuga ended in right after the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages was like Kali Yuga. It really was. It was horrible. It was a horrible time to live. And we've been in Dwapara Yuga for, 300 or 400 years now. I think 300 years. And Dwapara Yuga is when 50% of the population is enlightened and 50% are in the dark. Whereas in Kali Yuga, 75% of people are in darkness and 25% are conscious. So now we have a 50-50 split, which you see everywhere. And the evil people have gotten more evil. The tyrants have become more tyrannical, and they've become more sociopathic, and they've become more insidious about how they pull that off. and more people are waking up. More and more people are becoming enlightened. And I mean, like popcorn, like me. I mean, I was a spiritual teacher and I was into all this stuff, but it wasn't until almost a year ago that, well, 2 years ago, that I woke up to, oh my God, all those conspiracy theorists are right on all these different things. And then a year later, oh my God, all of those people who are channeling aliens are right. Oh my God, the world is nothing. What? This whole thing about Mandela Effect? What? What? This is nothing like what I thought it was. And so people are waking up like that, like popcorn. And so now to get to the answer. So in meditation today, I went and I sat in my throne and I was holding my staff, and I had, I won't tell you exactly what I do when I get into king mode, but I got into my king mode and I sat in my throne and I called Thoth to me, and he showed up, and I said, bring me somebody who can explain to me how this is. How is it that the earth is going to split into two and there's going to be a lower 3D and a higher 5D? Explain that to me. And so, of course, being who he was, he instantly brought somebody to me, and it was a very beautiful, non-physical energy being that showed up. Very graciously showed up. And I think it was a she, I don't know, but I think it was a she. And she explained to me very beautifully the process. And she said, when you look up in the sky and you see the sunlight, you know, what do you see? And I became aware that you see this white light coming from the sun. And she went on to say, what happens when you put that light through a prism? All of a sudden, the light fractals out. It breaks up into a bunch of different frequencies. And each one of those specific frequencies is a color. Now, each one of those colors is separate, but they're all part of one ray of white light. So she said, the earth is already, as you know, she reminded me of what I've told you, is that the earth is already a projection. The three-dimensional earth isn't physically real. It is a projection onto a three-dimensional screen. Now, what happens if you put a prism in front of the projector? You're going to have multiple earths that are separate, but they're all projected onto a three-dimensional screen. And she said, what determines the projection that shows up on the screen, what determines that is your intention. She says the world is filled with people who are splitting in their intentions. You have some very, very bad people who are intending very, very bad destructive things. They are absolute psychopath, narcissists. They are as evil as they get. And those people are very, very bent on continuing to keep their control and to continue to do horrific things in the attempt of trying to, they think that controlling everything is what's going to give them happiness because they're narcissists, they're insane. And then you have all of these people, and especially people that are being born now, all of the people that would identify as star seeds and light workers. More and more of these people are rushing to be born and have been doing so for the past 20 years. Have been rushing to come here to be born. And so now you have the earth is splitting in two. And so the intentions of each of these two groups of people is creating a scenario where the one earth that exists in a higher dimension, because that's where she exists, Earth exists, is a higher dimensional being. The people that live on her actually live on the reflection, the projection. We aren't living on the 5D being that is Earth, that's projecting her orb onto the three-dimensional screen. We live on top of that three-dimensional screen, walking around like it's real, and it's not. But so what's happening is that our intentions, like that prism, are starting to create two different reflections. One is going to be, the hell that Christianity talks about, the tribulation and all that. That is what's going to be created from all of that negative, those negative intentions. And for the people who are choosing to drop all of that, what have I been saying for the past 15 years? You must drop the victim mentality. Victims, you know where victims are going to end up? A place where they can continue to be victimized. You got to drop the victim mentality. You've got to drop the self-righteousness. You've got to drop all of the fear-based beliefs. You got to drop all that, because that's what you're going to end up creating. That's the reflection, the refraction you're going to create. People who focus on accepting love from the universe. That's your first goal. The first thing you should do on the to-do list to reach 5D, learn how to accept unconditional love. Learn how to trust the universe unconditionally. Learn how to give unconditional love. Notice how you give unconditional love after you've learned how to receive it. Focus on gratitude. The way you get grateful is you do what I do. You drop everything and you put yourself in debt to get on a plane to go live in a country that you don't know if you're going to be able to stay in. You do something like that. You leave those destructive relationships so you can start that business. You do whatever the hell it is that your soul fantasizes about. Because when you do that, you create a different frequency which will end up continuing to create, the one that we want. So what everybody should be doing is you should be working on yourself in whatever way you need to. By the way, none of you are going to be able to do this alone. Please, if you are filled with pain, if you have been traumatized, if you are physically ill, if you have self-hatred, fear, victim mentality, as we all do, stop trying to fix yourself. You can't do it. Stop telling me I'm going to work on my trauma issues. I'm going to work on my fear. That's like saying a one-armed man is going to be able to weave a basket. He's got one arm. He can't do it. A one-legged man is going to go run a marathon. You can't do it. You need the other hand to come in. And the other hand is somebody that you've asked for help. That means asking for unconditional love. You seek out a teacher, you seek out a counselor, you seek out a therapist, you go to a 12-step group. Stop screwing around and pretending that being by yourself in your own delusions is somehow spiritual. You can't call yourself your own guru, your own teacher, because you don't have the answers. A broken mind can't fix itself. We need other people. I have had a therapist for 30 years. I've had a teacher for that long, if not longer. I've been in 12-step groups. If you want what I have, you got to do what I've done. And I've spent my entire adult life working with other people who have more experience than I do about how to heal myself, including spirituality. I've had teachers and gurus my whole life. So get over yourself, reach out, get some love. And that's one of the things when you reach out to a teacher, even if you're paying them, you are saying to the universe, I want to be unconditionally loved. I'm ready to get out of my narcissism and receive love. I'm ready to take the risk and trust the universe. I'm ready to do the work and look at myself. I'm ready to discipline myself. These are the people who are going to make it. Because when you do that, you shift the frequency. All right, so I'm sorry I got off on that topic, but it's just a fact that a large number of people who come to my channel are very wounded. And unfortunately, with people who are very wounded, they tend to be very frightened in the way they deal with it. And one of the ways is by saying, I just work on myself, I don't have teachers. It's just something that damaged people have learned how to do. You've got to go against your instincts. You've got to do the opposite of what you've learned to do. Watching my videos and just watching my videos and not doing any work, there's a lot more you can accomplish for yourself. So, one of the things you should be doing is you should be, every day, you should spend as much time as you can in meditation, imagining your perfect world. A world where everything is as wonderful as a child's imagination can create. If you want to create a world with unicorns and trees that give Skittles, that's the world you should manifest. That is the world you should meditate on. Meditate on that being your reality. In the meantime, in between your meditations, you should be taking daily action to achieve that. Okay, maybe, unicorns and Skittles is not something that is immediately available, but taking that class, starting that business, moving to another part of the world, marrying that girl you're in love with, divorcing that guy that's abusing you, taking action. If the reality that you have now will not allow you to have what you're manifesting, then you have to go create another one. So your actions have to follow your meditations. We have to take the inaccuracies of the law of attraction, and we have to stop being so frightened. Sitting on your ass and hoping that your good feelings will bring good things to you is not the complete understanding. You first go and create that reality, send out those vibrations, raise yourself up to that vibration, and then you have to take actions to follow through. That's when the universe takes you seriously. So you have to be doing both. They're both equally important. All right. So did I get through everything here? I'll make another video about this, but I wanted to talk about this. Now, let me just be clear. This isn't something that I know for a fact. I have not researched this or double-checked this with my higher dimensional friends. I've heard people talk about it, and I'm interested in the concept. So, the idea is that while this is happening, while the shift is happening, there are going to be people who may be able to shift between the two dimensions before they completely separate. And so this will allow people who are maybe further behind the process to catch up and then, go to the higher dimensional earth if they want. Or there will be people who can check out both dimensions and decide which one they want to be in. Believe it or not, there are going to be people who will choose to be in the lower dimensional earth. That is a fact. That's a fact today. How do you know that? I know that. I know people who have, who went, for instance, who became addicted to drugs and alcohol and then went to 12-step groups, got themselves sober and cleaned up, their life started getting better, and then later on they went back to drugs and alcohol, and they're far worse than they ever were. Their life is an absolute total mess. So people can go to one side and choose to go back. It's for the same reason, because being in that healthy, successful reality is frightening. Because you have to live in surrender to a higher power. You have to live in surrender to unconditional love. You have to live in the unknown. Because to be unconditionally loved means to be in the unknown. Just like a little baby. A little baby doesn't do anything. It can't fight. It has to be in the space where it has no power, and that's when the mother ideally loves the child unconditionally, pours unconditional love onto the child. So you have to put yourself in that state. Even though physically you're out running a business or doing your thing or healing that or studying that or creating whatever, you're internally in an experience where you have given up all power and you're allowing a higher dimensional energy to guide you, to expand you. You're in a state of expansion, which means you're going beyond what you know. And that's frightening. And people, even after they've experienced that, will get so afraid, they will turn around and go the other way. So this is why I like this idea that perhaps there's a temporary solar wave wormhole. So the solar wave ascension, I'm predicting, I don't know this, I'm not a prophet. I'm not a prophet and I'm not a psychic and I'm not a channeler. I'm none of those things. So I'm not making a prediction here. This isn't something I've confirmed. But what I believe is that the solar wave ascension event, which I believe is what my higher dimensional friends have shown me, when I put it into 3D terms, it makes a lot of sense because it just so happens that the sun is going through a solar maximum combined with an incursion event on planet Earth, which is that the electromagnetic field is very weak and there are holes in it, big giant holes in it, which when you have the combined scenario of solar storms sending solar plasma and radiation to the Earth, and the Earth has a weakened magnetic field, you have a huge amount of solar radiation hitting the Earth. And it turns out now science is coming to the realization that this is more and more what has been happening when species have gone extinct and new species have come around. This is why I said in a previous video, this is why I think that Neanderthals didn't go extinct. They live on a denser version of Earth. We know that when Neanderthals went extinct, it happened during one of these incursion events, and a lot of solar radiation was hitting the Earth. So solar radiation changes your DNA. You shift. So not only do you change, does your species change, but you also shift to a higher vibrational level. So that's why I think Neanderthals might be existing on a lower version of Earth. So we have one of those things again. Normal, what we now call modern humans, are going to go extinct, which means they're going to revert to a lower three-dimensional Earth, and those that choose to change their DNA by changing their attitudes, changing their intentions, and changing their actions to meet the higher vibrational solar radiation, those people will shift, their DNA will shift, their frequency will shift, and they will move into a new Earth. This is also, we're finding out, probably what happened with dinosaurs. There might be an Earth where dinosaurs are still roaming around. Who knows how many versions of Earth there are. But we are on one that is shifting. The frequencies are shifting, and the Earth is going to split into two different vibrations that are going to be so different from each other that we'll no longer be able to interact, which is why I think during this event, so the solar maximum event is predicted to last from 2023 into 2026. So I believe this may be the solar wave ascension event. It will take a little bit of time from our perspective. And I believe it is possible that we may be able to shift from one to the other. Now, the reason why I think that is because I believe that is also what happened to Sasquatch. So it might be possible, I don't know if this is true, but it might be possible that we will shift up to the vibration where Sasquatch lives. So if you know anything about Sasquatch or Bigfoot, if you look at the native lore about that being, you will find out that these are not physical beings. They are talked about as being shamans, shapeshifters, spirit protectors, and anybody who has tracked them or physically experienced them can tell you that they can disappear. Like they will literally be walking in front of you and then the next thing you know, they're gone. You can see tracks in the snow in the middle of a giant snowfield with no trees, and all of a sudden their footprints just disappear. People who have experienced them know. I've experienced one. I called one to me years ago, and one showed up outside my camp up in the Sierras at twilight, and the sound that came out of that being shook me to my core, and I almost died. I mean, it was so frightening to me. And it was very clear to me that that being was not part of my dimension. And so Sasquatch can appear as light or as these giant creatures. And the indigenous people of North America have known this, and they say, yeah, they live in another version of Earth, and they come back and forth between these two versions. So I'm wondering if this is what we will be able to do. Are you going to be the elves, the sprites, the leprechauns of 3D Earth? Are you going to be able to go down there and interact from a higher dimensional state, phase in and out of reality to help those loved ones you have that are still down there? Is that going to be a possibility? That sounds like a lot of fun to me. So the thing that makes this whole idea acceptable to me is the understanding that it's going to be people's choices. They're going to have to choose. And they're not going to be forced into doing anything. People won't end up in the lower third dimension because they're punished or they're evil. Please stop writing that. Please stop putting that in the comments. Please stop talking with self-righteous joy about those evil people that will be thrown into the horrible hell. Please stop doing that. Very hurtful to me to read that. I don't wish that for anybody. I don't wish that for myself, and I don't wish that for you. But if somebody's just simply frightened and they just can't tolerate yet the, being loved, and it means that they're going to have to choose, fear and control and power and narcissism and addiction and all of that in order to stay comfortable. If that's their choice that they choose to do, I give them that. I'm happy to give them the freedom to do that. Just like people I've known who got sober and then destroyed themselves, died, or are living hellish lives. They chose to do it. They had the opportunity. They had the same tools that other people have had that have made their lives amazing and wonderful, and they just chose to do something different for whatever reason. That I can live with. So what's the message for you? The message for you is that this is your choice. What I've been through in the past year, somebody could easily come to the conclusion, especially the experiences that I've had of myself, in higher dimensions. Somebody could easily and probably rightly say, this is your karma. You have been set up for thousands of years to be this person that you are now so that you could be giving this message at this time to help the human race. Somebody could very easily say that about me. But I was there. And what happened a year ago What happened 2 years ago when I, had the opportunity to be part of the narrative and do something to me that I would have regretted for the rest of my life that I chose not to do? And what happened to me a year ago when I made the decision that I was going to repeatedly do this CE5 thing, even though it scared the hell out of me? It was the most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. It was unnecessary for me to be afraid, as it turns out, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know anybody else that was doing it, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. I wish that I had somebody who would walk me through it, and that's just who I am. I tend to jump off cliffs all by myself. I just tend to do that. But it was my choice, and I kept choosing to do it, even though it was physically, I was getting physically damaged from all of the fear and the confusion that I had over it. I physically damaged myself. I'm still recovering from it, by the way. It was my choice. So you have to choose. And I've given you all the tools that I've given you, all of the links here and all of the free stuff on the channel. Go look at the playlists. I'm not going to sell myself today or sell my stuff today because I really just want to focus on giving out this message. But all of the things that I have created, I've come to realize this is the reason I was born. I was born to give you guys this technology so that you would have the power to feel safe, to reach out to the universe, to drop the fear, drop the victim mentality, work through the trauma, and choose to be unconditionally loved, and choose to create your perfect heaven on earth. It's the only reason I'm here. So, I'll have to make some more videos about this concept because I find that very interesting. But for now, if you have any questions about this, feel free to write your questions. This is a question and answer. If you're new to the channel, that's what I prefer. I know a lot of people just like to drop comments and, that's not really what I'm looking for. I would much rather that you ask me a question. A question is, you don't know the answer to something you think that I do. A question is not an opinion. That's a whole other thing. A question, honestly asked, is a way of opening up and trusting the universe. Sharing an honest feeling. A feeling is an emotion. A feeling isn't, I feel very strongly about this opinion. That is not a feeling. A feeling is, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm afraid, I'm excited, I'm confused, I'm lonely, I'm fulfilled. These are emotions, those things. Questions and emotions are things that open you up to infinity, that put you in that state of the unknown, that allow you to be loved unconditionally by the universe. And those questions or those feelings may be the turning point which allows you to shift into a new direction. But you have to follow through with action, which is why all of these things are here. Do the meditations, do the mantra, do the whatever it is. The actions follow up your opening yourself up. And the discipline is you keep doing those spiritual practices every day, and then you shift. This is how it happens. So this shift that's coming, the earth has decided she's going to do it. Regardless of whether or not we come along or not, she's going to do this. With or without us. We choose to go with her by staying disciplined and doing our spiritual practice every single day. That is how you stay on the ship, the train, the car. If you stop doing that, you run the risk of flying off the ship, flying off the train, and ending up not going where you want to go. So discipline, spiritual practice and discipline guarantees your seat. It's the seat belt. The seat is given to you. You sit down in the seat, but then the seat belt is the discipline of doing the meditation, doing the energy work, doing the spiritual practice every single day. That keeps you in your seat. So if you hit turbulence, if you hit turbulence in a plane, it could kill you. Fly up and smash yourself into the ceiling. You know, and when the pilot says, okay, we're hitting some turbulence, please put on your seatbelt. You know, 99 times out of 100, nothing will happen. But that 1%, you know, somebody can get really messed up. So do your spiritual practice. That way you are guaranteed you will make the journey. All right, let's take a look at your questions. Agent of the Universe, question. I've been doing the Awakening the Immortals every morning, every day for a while, and nothing has gotten better yet. I don't know that. You have an assumption about what getting better means. I don't know that I share your assumption, so don't shove that down my throat. I can guarantee you that you're not sicker or poorer. You might feel less happy emotionally. But bear in mind, I know something about you, Agent of the Universe, by the way. And you have a very, very challenging emotional dynamic. Extremely challenging. More challenging than most people could live through. The healing process for you is going to include a tremendous amount of discomfort. So you can pretty much be guaranteed that you are on the path to healing based on how uncomfortable you are. So telling me that you've been doing the Awakening the Immortals every day and nothing has gotten better, I know that's not true. But I also accept that you have a lot of intense feelings that you don't like. And that's different. You say, so nothing's gotten better yet. Has this happened to you? Is it a test of the light beings? It has happened to me. I just got through telling you earlier on, I had a really bad day a couple days ago. I have my share of really, really bad days. I would not force anybody to live through the garbage that my brain and my body puts me through. I would not wish it on anybody. When I say to you, if you do what I do, you'll get what I get, I mean it. You have never once heard me say, I have achieved enlightenment. I am free from all problems and emotional issues, like many false self-described enlightened teachers say. I've achieved a state of enlightenment. I won't mention his name. I heard another very popular guy, some stuff he says I like. He said something to the same degree, and I just wanted to call BS on that. And it's because people buy into that. People want. If I had the ability, I can't. If I did it, the universe would squash me like a bug. But if I came on here and lied to you and said, I've achieved enlightenment, if you do this one practice that I do and it costs you $100,000, you will achieve enlightenment like me. I could be rich as hell. Because people will pay anything to be freed from their own karmic work. Everybody wants, the projection is they want to be free of their pain. Why do you think there's so many spiritual seekers who do drugs? How many of you listening to me smoke weed every day? How many of you listening to me eat mushrooms and think that's going to achieve enlightenment for you? How many of you listening to me are addicted to porn or video games or something like that because you can't tolerate just sitting in your own feelings, and at the same time you identify as a star seeker, or a star seed and a light worker and a super empath and all of that? You don't think I understand that? If you don't think I understand everything you're going through when I come down on you, it's because I know exactly what's going on inside of you, because it's going on inside of me too. So, Agent of the Universe, this is your delusion that you're all by yourself in your pain. You're not. And this is why you need to be, and I hope you're still doing it, you need to be working with a therapist. You should probably be in group therapy, because you especially need to know you're not alone. That feeling you have that you're all by yourself in your misery, that's an inaccurate delusion of your karma in your third dimensional state. By doing the Awakening the Immortals every day, good for you that you're doing that. That discipline is saving your ass. You will continue to get better. You'll get healthier, happier, and more prosperous, but you're going to have a lot of uncomfortable feelings, so just get used to it. What else? Let's see. Mr. Floyd, I can see here you're new to the channel. So how this works is, if you have a question, write the word question in all caps. Otherwise, I won't see it. So I don't want to scroll past it because I don't read everything everybody writes on here. I only read the questions and the feelings. So please write the word question in all caps and then just type in your question. You say, could it be that the split is that we are living within ourselves while others don't even understand that exists? That's not really a question. That sounds like what you think is going on and you kind of want me to co-sign that for you. I don't know that I understand that. I will say that, of course, there is the internal and the external happening simultaneously, so it sounds like what you're saying might have some truth to it. Laura, CBD is not the same as THC. I don't recommend THC. I think it's it's not that I think, it's very bad for you, regardless of what people say. CBD is something else. All right, that's not a question. That's not a question. Looking for the questions here. Lots of opinions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Yeah, see, this is why, Mr. Floyd, you're new to the channel, so you don't know. This is why I can't stand people just typing in my thought, because then I have to scroll through all of it, and it's just a bunch of noise. Please do everybody else a favor. This is different from other channels. Other channels want you to just type in as much, static as you can. I just want your questions. The rest of it is just static. It's a waste of my time. But I can't control you. That's just my request. Laura, question. After the shift, will we give up our bodies? No. Not yet. But the truth is, I don't know. It makes me want to ask you why you're asking that question. Instead of asking that question, Laura, I would encourage you to focus on creating a perfect body. I can tell you since I've had my year-long interaction, as well as my 40 years of doing, higher dimensional energy work, my body is changing as I get older. I mean, like my body is, there are things that are like age. I'm getting gray hairs, getting a little bit of a turkey neck down here, but my body, doesn't hold up, like it used to. Gravity does things to certain parts of my body that it didn't used to. But in terms of my athletic ability, some of it is pretty amazing. I'm in a lot better health than people half my age, to 1/3 of my age. And a lot of other things I know have been shifting in my DNA. So part of that is things I've been doing as a result of healing all the trauma within myself. Been doing it for 40 years, as well as the energy work. And lately there's been a big jump in shifts in my body as a result of doing the CE5 and interdimensional meditations. So the way you've asked your question is, again, you're sort of waiting around for the shift to happen. The shift is happening now. It actually started in 2012, but officially it started December 2nd of 2022. So the shift is happening now. Don't wait for it to come. It's already here. The attitude you want to have is, what can I do to heal myself? I already gave you the first answer is to heal all of the traumas. Don't do that alone. Go find a counselor. Go find a therapist. Go find a 12-step group. Go find a group of people. Go to a yoga class. Do something. Find a group of people or some counselor or some mentor or therapist who can help you address your wounds and heal them. Second thing that you should be doing simultaneously is the energy work. And then the third thing you should be doing is you should be imagining your perfect body. You want your body to be free of all pain. You want to imagine yourself having a body of light. Start creating it now. If your fantasy is after the shift that people start, creating, different bodies, or you have just an energy body, start doing that. You'll find out whether you're doing that because you're trying to escape yourself, because you hate yourself. Because a lot of people think about leaving their body because they dissociate from their body. They hate themselves. So you'll find that out. If that's what it is, then learn to love your body. Don't try and get rid of it. Learn how to love it and heal it. These are the things we should be doing right now. This shift is going to require everybody to get up off their ass and work, which is the exact opposite of what the mainstream wants you to do. What does Facebook want you to do? Want you to go onto the metaverse, where you sit at home and you put on your VR goggles and you show up as some kind of cartoon character. And the metaverse wants you to believe that that's you can work from home, which really means work in a cubicle, being trapped somewhere and just in your fantasy off somewhere, not reality, not physically being there. Can you see the mirror of it? Because interdimensional meditation is going off in your spirit and going to another dimension and creating a reality. The metaverse is staying in your body and not leaving your body and going in your mind and going on the net and creating a bullshit reality where your body rots and you get sicker and you need more garbage. You see how it's mirroring each other? So I don't know your question, Laura, where it comes from, but that's the feeling that comes up is, why do you want to give up your body? Because that's what I hear in the question. Anyway, I could be wrong. Mr. Floyd, welcome to the channel. I am not interested in, this is not I haven't called you in here to give your advice. You're taking up a lot of stuff here. Please keep it to just questions only. Look at how much you've written in there. I have to scroll through all of that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. I don't see a question. So just to make things easier for me, Mr. Floyd, I'm going to put you in a timeout so that I don't have to scroll through all of it. Okay? I'd love to hear your question, and I'd love to hear your feeling. If you have a feeling, write the word feeling. You did share a feeling right there. You say grateful to be in my light, but you can tone the noise down a little bit. So just so that I can read through it, nothing personal, and put you in a timeout. All right. Now, Laura asked that question already. TT. I can't answer that question. Please don't ask me questions that will get me banned on YouTube. So TT, I'm sorry, I can't answer your question. I'm going to delete it just so that they won't ban me and take my channel away. Let's see what else. It's not a question. Shanetta, question. Is there a timeline that you can share that we can expect? Is this gradually happening in stages or at a specific time? I'm not sure I understand your question. I do understand, I think, the feeling behind the question, which I share with you, which is, can somebody tell me how it's going to happen? So this goes back to wanting to control. Wanting to have the specifics of, on this day and time, this is when this is going to happen. This gives us a false feeling of security, because then you feel safe. I'm the same way. I mean, I'm here on a tourist visa and I want to live here. And so there's very few ways that I can pull that off. There's some possibilities that I'm looking into. But I would like for the ETs to say, oh, you don't have to worry about that. The shift's going to happen in 30 days and you won't ever have to, I want that so that I can just feel safe, because I don't want to be in the unknown. So I'm doing the same thing I'm telling you guys today. I go into my meditation and I create the reality where this is where I live. I even change the way the reality is here so it's even better than I want it to be. And in the meantime, I come back and I do the practical things that I have to do. I deal with the reality that's in front of me. So I'm not in denial of the reality in front of me. So that's what I suggest for you. Can I give you a timeline? I'm not a prophet. I can't tell you on what date what's going to happen. And I also don't think that's how it works. Because, watch my videos, Shanetta. I've got some videos and I'll make it more about how reality manifests in 3D space-time. There isn't like a timeline out there where the date is, 6 months or a year in, and that's already in, and we're just going to flip onto that one and then just follow the road and end up on that timeline. That's not how reality works. The moment that you're experiencing right now is the end of the line. There's nothing beyond this moment. Oh, a new moment just came in, a new moment. Every single nanosecond you are manifesting a probability. And to help you with this, my books, Interdimensional Revolution and Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth, there's a chapter, and there's a video somewhere on my channel as well. There's a chapter in Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth called You Are a Probability. And that tells you how time works. So one of the reasons I can't answer your question is because it's impossible. It hasn't happened yet. I don't care how many timelines we're talking about. Even if we're talking about 20 different timelines, they all have a present moment where everything has stopped. And then each nanosecond, a new probability is manifest. So for every single timeline, there's an infinite number of possibilities. And there's also an infinite number of probabilities. And what'll happen is people have been living in a certain reality which has trained them how to think and what to expect. And so based on their expectations, they are grabbing, without realizing it, they're grabbing a probability and creating it. Grabbing a probability and creating it. And then time marches on. So you can change that. Now there's a lot of probability energy going towards creating a certain reality. So if you really want to shift your life in the exact opposite direction, you're going to need a lot of power. And that's where these practices come in, the lightning qigong and all the meditations that I do, the mantra, the nine worlds rituals that I teach in the shamanism classes. All of these things are ways that you can rearrange yourself so that you grab onto another probability and make that happen. Maybe it's not nearly as probable. Maybe the most probable thing is you're going to create more crap for yourself because that's what you've been doing. But then if you become very clear about what you want and throw yourself into that state of fearless surrender to the universe and you imagine something completely different, you can grab that probability and pull it down. Now, it's going to take a while, perhaps. I mean, it could happen instantly depending on how powerful you are. But it may take months or it may take years. What's happening with me now is I have the perfect surfing reality. I haven't had surf this good consistently perhaps in my whole life. But that's because I spent this whole last year in meditation, meditating on having the perfect surfing scenario. As soon as I got back here to Australia, that's what happened. Perfect surfing started lining up for me, and it hasn't stopped yet. So you can do that with anything, but it starts with you in your meditation. So you shouldn't be asking me, is there a timeline that you can expect such and such? You should be getting up off your couch and doing that in your meditation. You don't know how to do that? Subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Do that. Subscribe to the Interdimensional Meditation course. Do the free stuff that I've got on the channel. I'm not the only game in town. Go study Tai Chi. Go find a yogi. Find somebody who will teach you how to meditate your reality into existence. Don't wait for it to come, because if you wait for reality to come, that is a sure recipe for continuing to manifest the same thing over and over again. Maria Castro, question. Do you know how it will all play out on the world stage? I think I just answered that question. Are there any signs we should be looking for? Will it even happen in our lifetime? So Maria, stop watching the news. Just stop. This is, this keeps you in fear. I don't give a crap what's going to happen on the world stage. I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. I've known this for years. From 2019 from 2019 to December of 2021, I was in Australia during the entire lockdown. It turned out I was in the one place in the world that was completely walled off. I mean, Queensland completely blocked itself off from the rest of the world. So there was no COVID and there was no lockdowns. There were lockdowns in other parts of Australia, but not here, because nobody could get in or out of Queensland. Now, we could discuss how horrible that might have been on all kinds of levels, but the end reality is I got to live in a completely COVID-free place, and I never had to worry about it. I got to, without tourists, I got to enjoy empty beaches, etc., etc. And that was because I've always had this thing of, I just listen to what my soul wants to do and I go do it. And it wasn't because it was easy. It cost me money. It put me into debt. I'm still in debt as a result of that first trip that I took, 3-4 years ago. And I'm back here now once again. So the point is, Maria, who gives a crap? Stop watching that garbage. It doesn't mean anything. What I'm trying to say is that you will create, even if you stay in this 3D reality and it all turns to hell, you'll create a bubble of safety around you so that you'll be led someplace where none of that stuff will be there. So I don't know and I don't care. The other thing is we can change that. There was one thing that we've already changed, which I can't talk about here. But we collectively, the human race, has changed one thing that was actually in the works and was going to happen. And it was a really horrible thing. And we stopped it. So by just focusing on what makes you happy and creating your reality, you can actually stop all kinds of stuff that would normally happen in the world. But even if it does happen, you'll be safe if you don't listen to it. So stop watching all that garbage. Timothy Zoll, question. Been disciplined doing Heaven, Earth, 3 ones, Hul, and Qigong. By the way, what you hear in the background is the Hul breath. If you're new to the channel, all you have to do is just Google this, H-U-U-L, breath. It is the one thing that will connect you to the ascended masters that have been teaching me my whole life. If you do that mantra, you will be connected to them. Just do it. If you only do one thing, do that every day, at least for 10 minutes a day. That's my suggestion. Timothy et al. Been doing Heaven, Earth, 3 ones, Hul and Qigong movements at the same time, and interdimensional. Sometimes I feel hurried to get through and fall asleep during interdimensional. I fall asleep during interdimensional also. That's not unusual. That's because it's interdimensional. It takes a lot of energy and concentration to stay in that state. So there's nothing wrong with falling asleep. Nothing wrong with falling asleep. It wasn't like you weren't doing it. You fell asleep after doing all that stuff. It makes perfect sense. What I do is I do my interdimensional meditation in the afternoon or early evening. I still sometimes fall asleep, but I do that specifically so that I'm not doing it when I'm going to bed after I've done my exercises or gone to the gym, or I don't, for that very reason. Sometimes I do it just before going to bed because there's a lot of intense energy and stuff wants to happen. So don't beat yourself up. What's the best way to prevent burnout? I don't recommend trying to prevent anything. Best way to prevent burnout is not to do too much. So don't burn yourself out. I don't know. I can't tell if you guys can hear me or not because I'm seeing the picture get all that's, stop and start. So hopefully you can still hear me. Sophia Palumbo, that's not a question. Committed to ascending is not a question. It's not even a sentence. A sentence has an object, a verb, a subject, all that stuff. You didn't even do that. So I'm glad, that's more like a feeling or an intention. I'm glad that you're committed to ascending, but it's not a question. Laura says, no, don't want to give up body. Sometimes I'm wrong. After time, after shift, we will not need body. I've heard that too. I don't know. My take is that probably is going to be, thousands of years in the future. Because that's how these beings look at this, by the way. We're going through this shift and it's taking months and years. It, started a long time ago, really started putting into gear 2012 and then it's been speeding up. But from the high dimensional beings, it's just happened. It's like happened in a second. So when they say like tomorrow everything's going to change, that could be tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now. They don't experience 3D reality the same way that we do. So yeah, I've heard that too, and I believe that's probably the case. The question is, how long is that going to happen? I don't think that's going to happen immediately, but I don't know. I personally I like having a physical body. I like surfing. I like doing things with my physical body. I just want to get rid of all the, some of the garbage we've got here. I like the idea of having bodies that never get sick. I like the idea of, bodies that don't get old. I like that a lot. I'll take that, but I don't want my body to go away. I like doing physical things way too much. I mean, what happens if you get married, you fall in love? You're going to want to get rid of your body? I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff that can happen with two bodies. Let's see what else. Vajra Dorje, do me a favor, do not yell at me. You can write the word question in all caps so that I see it. You don't have to scream the whole thing at me. Anyway, my apologies for nitpicking. Vajra Dorje, I'm on the fence as to whether you're being serious or not. But just to err on the side of caution, you can live in whatever world you want. Even Mark, write the word question, please, like Sophia did. If you look above you, she wrote the word question in all caps. You say, how can I know what my soul really wants? Welcome to the channel. Go on my channel and look for me as I read this book. I think there's even a playlist, and I'm going to write it down for you. The Shamanic Secret Command Meant to a Perfect Life. That is the book that you should read. You can go to Amazon, Kindle, or Audible, Audible, and you can also go to michaelwilliamdenny.com and you will find that book. You should read that book. If for whatever reason you don't want to spend the $10 or you don't have it because you live in a box in your parents' basement, for whatever reason you don't want to buy it, you can go onto my channel, go onto the playlist, and you can listen to me read it. That's how you figure out what your soul wants. Great question. By the way, everybody, especially if you're new to the channel, please learn how to search within the channel. There's a way that you can find how to put search words that just search my videos. You can do that with everybody's YouTube channel. That's the first thing I learned how to do. And whenever I find a channel I like, that's the first thing I do. I will search within their channel. So learn how to do that. I've also got playlists. Learn how to search my playlists for things that you want. And so learning how to find your soul desire, I probably have hundreds of videos talking about that. So I hope you find it. Okay, what else? Okay, people are telling me they can hear me. Thank you. Vajra Dorje, question, can we see Dumbledore in 5D? So I've come to the conclusion, Vajra Dorje, that you are being sarcastic. And I got better things to do than wasting valuable time on somebody who's not being serious. So we're going to say goodbye to that. And yeah, hopefully I won't have to deal with that again. What else? Anything else? Nothing else. Okay, that's it for me, guys. I don't see any more questions. We've said plenty, so hopefully that'll be helpful for you. So you know the drill. If you want to benefit from this channel, then first place you should go is thunderwizard.com. Subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You can unsubscribe whenever you want if you don't like it. You can go to courses.thunderwizard.com to see all the services and all the stuff that I have available. My books are out there at michaelwilliamdenny.com. You can see my name there on the Interdimensional Revolution thing. Just put a .com after that. I've got a Rumble channel, which every now and then I put stuff on there that I do not put here on YouTube for obvious reasons. Of course, the Interdimensional Meditation course. We have free guided interdimensional meditations on the channel. And you can also take the course at thunderwizard.com. I recommend taking the Lightning Qigong because it's only $1 more per month. And again, if you don't like any of it, you can unsubscribe whenever you want. You got nothing to lose. All right. Is that it? Let's see what else. TT, what did I say about asking a question? Please pay attention. So let me just, the three most important things in life. Sorry, the two most important things in life. Pay attention and put effort. I've already told you what I want you to do when it comes to questions. I specifically told you. So you weren't paying attention. Put the effort into it. It takes effort to pay attention and it takes effort to follow directions. You will need both of those things if you want to shift into 5D. You say, are you familiar with Elon Musk's Neuralink? It's not a question. Let me again give you my definition of a question. A question is, you're asking me about something that you don't know the answer to, that you think I might. I might not. But asking me, am I familiar with what somebody else is doing and what somebody else has said, that's not a question. And to answer your question, the second part of your question, do I think that something like that could force chakras to open? No. So welcome to the channel. You're new to the channel. And I've just made a couple of videos just recently about chakras and what chakras are. And your assumption about what chakras are is incorrect. So no, you can't do something that's... Your understanding of chakras is wrong. So I invite you to go learn about what they really are and what they really do. And how you can benefit from them. What else? Nothing else? That's it. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate your patience. If I've done or said anything that was hurtful in any way or I misunderstood you, just know that my desire is to come from a place of love and to be as helpful as I possibly can. And sometimes that's telling you things you don't want to hear. And telling you things that you don't like hearing. And sometimes I make mistakes, but let's see, there's one last question that just popped up. Afro Man, do you feel that each day, so let's see, let me read your whole question before I react to it. Do you feel that each day passes or solar flares, occurrences we start to fuse with the earth and the higher dimensions? You're asking a bunch of different questions in there. I don't understand your question. It sounds like you have some feelings and some perceptions that you're wanting me to co-sign. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question because I just don't get it. There's too much thinking in there. And I believe that what you're really doing is you want me to agree with some experiences you're having. And again, that's not how questions work. So doesn't mean you're wrong. But again, I don't understand the question. That's it for me, guys. Shawnetta says grateful. Her feeling is that she's grateful. Thank you for sharing your feelings. That's it, guys. I'm all done. I will see you guys all very soon. Take care. Before I forget, we also have the 6, where is it? I'm not finding it. Here it is. 6 Phases of Ascension, which you can learn at thunderwizard.com. Subscribe to the 6 Phases of Ascension apprenticeship if you want to learn more about that. Okay, now I'm done. See you guys next time.